If you live in an apartment with cats, you already know the two problems. Litter. It ends up on the sofa, in your socks, and somehow in rooms that the cats were never even in. And smell. The litter box is basically a roommate you have to manage, or things start getting noticeable. Now, I've lived in very small apartments, and over time I made a few small changes that genuinely reduce both tracking and smell. And one of them involves unlearning something that most cat owners, including me, have been doing for years, and we'll definitely get to that. But let's start with the simplest one, and that being just rotate the box. Turn the entrance away from your living space, toward a wall, a hallway, or a corner. Not flush against the wall. Leave some space so that your cat can still see what's going on while they're inside. You don't want them feeling cornered. If they exit toward a wall instead, they slow down, they pivot, and that brief turn drops more litter near the box instead of halfway across your floor. This works especially well with hooded boxes. Now with more open designs, like the one I'm using here, some cats will just hop sideways out entirely and skip the exit path. So if that's happening, you shape the exit instead of relying on it. Now, most people usually respond to tracking by buying a bigger mat. The problem is mats only work if your cat actually walks across them. And a lot of cats either sprint straight through or bypass them entirely, as you saw with Rosie. Now, instead of making a bigger mat, I just make the exit a little bit narrower. I add a simple 90-degree turn, sort of like an L, a small partition, a panel, or a splash guard, anything that forces the cat to walk through the textured zone instead of around it. Here I'm using this litter splash guard because it's configurable and low profile. It also catches anything kicked sideways before it hits the floor. Additionally, I can raise one section slightly to discourage that sideways bunny hop you saw earlier. Once again, all I'm really doing is narrowing the path and adding a few extra steps on the textured surface. And those extra steps are what actually knocks off litter off their paws. Now, I currently live in Korea, and in a lot of homes across Asia, there's a recessed shoe ledge near the entrance. That space is perfect actually for litter boxes because it has built-in containment, and I use that in previous apartments. This place doesn't allow that with my robotic litter boxes since they're much too big, so this is how I recreate that same effect. Now, once you shape the exit, you can actually take it one step further, as some cats like to treat mats like lava. They'll leap right over them sometimes. So I like to place a scratcher directly in the exit path. It's basically, I mentioned it before, a speed bump that they actually don't try to avoid. A low horizontal scratcher works well. They walk across it on the way out, and it doubles as a stepper if you don't have one. I've also had good results with a vertical scratcher off to the side. If they stop to scratch even for a second, that's more time in that containment zone, which means less litter making it into the living area. These first three adjustments stack. Each one helps on their own, of course, but together they really noticeably cut down tracking. But now, let's talk about smell. Alright, baking soda. It's in every litter article, every odor hack. I used it for years, and I still have a lot of those Arm & Hammer box sprinklers. And I could never really tell if it was helping. Sometimes it actually smells stronger a day later. So instead of guessing, let's put on our lab coats for a second. I grabbed 3 things: clay litter, cassava litter, and baking soda. And I tested the pH. Well, it's not that surprising. Baking soda, very alkaline. Clay litter, also alkaline, but less so. Cassava, much closer to neutral. And here's why the result is important. Ammonia, that sharp urine burning smell, becomes more volatile in alkaline environments. What that means is, the more alkaline things are, the easier it is for ammonia to release into the air. So when you sprinkle baking soda into an already alkaline litter, you're often pushing it further in that direction. It might help with solid waste smell, but for ammonia, it's not doing what most people think. So instead, use zeolite. It's a natural mineral, it's cheap, it's widely available in different forms, and most importantly, it doesn't change the pH of your litter. I keep a small pack in the waste bin of my robotic litter box under the bag. The bin is fairly sealed, so ammonia builds up in there, and the zeolite just absorbs it until I'm ready to dump the bag. If you're using a regular litter box, it works especially well for hooded designs since they naturally trap rising ammonia. It's super simple and actually targets the problem. The last piece is airflow. Every apartment has areas where air moves and areas where it doesn't. Sometimes the instinct is often to hide the litter box out of sight, but those hidden spots usually have the worst airflow. Instead, look for places where air naturally circulates. Near a bathroom where, of course, there's the exhaust fan, near hallways and entryways where pressure changes as you move through the space. You just want ambient odor drifting towards an exit instead of pooling somewhere near where you sit. In my current setup, the litter box is honestly closer to me than I'd ideally want, but because of how air moves through the hallway, it's not as noticeable as you'd expect. The smell moves away from me rather than toward me. Add air purifier nearby and pointing towards the direction of the hallway, of course, and you're covering both ends. Odor control and airflow management.
Let's see if you guys made a mess.
So those are the 5. Aim the box properly, shape the exit path, add a few natural speed bumps, and skip the baking soda. Use zeolite instead, especially if you're sensitive to ammonia. And of course, pay attention to airflow.
For the most part, it did contain most of the litter in here. Nice.
If you're curious about the products that I mentioned, they're in the description. If you're also managing multiple cats in a small space, I've got a separate video on how I handled 4 cats with just 1 litter box. I'll see you there.